Okay, so I just got done watching Pulse. This is written by Wes Craven and Ray Wright, and this was my first review, well, one of my first reviews that I did last October. And so, yeah, this October I thought I would do a revisiting or a rewatch to see if to see if my thoughts have changed on this movie, because when I watched it last year, I really enjoyed it. Like, really, really enjoyed it. I gave it a very positive review, and same with its sequel as well, which I will talk a little bit about that one in here as well. So I want to, I guess, go back and just see if my opinion has changed, if I like it just as much as that first viewing, or if my opinion has changed in the movie. Let's get into it right now. And right off the back, my opinion has changed drastically on this movie from my last review. I actually have quite a few complaints with this movie, and um, just to I could do something different. I'm going to start off with my negatives and then go in to my positives, because a lot of my positives that I did in my review last year are the same. It's just that I noticed a lot more things in this movie that really, that really stood out to me as being pointless. For one, there's a lot of unnecessary, characters in this movie. Like, there's this really awkward, like, cafe scene where this guy randomly, turns around and starts communicating with our main character, and just goes on this whole exposition dialogue on just stuff we don't need to know. Because it's already been pointed out to us like before that, and this guy's basically just clarifying that that it's the end of the world, and computers are computers are the viruses of the world, and and all that shit. And I thought that was a really needless scene that didn't need to be written in. I didn't see the point on that guy communicating. It didn't do anything for the story. It didn't do anything for the script. Um, and so, yeah, that was one scene I can remember as being just really strange and felt out of place in the movie. Second of all, um, the the character of what was his name? I didn't take notes for the movie. Is it on the back here anywhere? Let's see. Um, no. But Josh's friend who actually what's his name? Jeez, I I can remember. I remember Josh. I remember he had I think, a very strange name. I believe, if I'm remembering that correct. But yeah, basically Josh's friend who gave him, who gave him, I guess, who gave him this laptop that then he unleashed the virus. Um, he shows up at the end for like a brief few minutes. His character in the story, like in the concept of this movie, he plays a big part in a way. But as far as what he actually does and how he executes this story, he does nothing. He is a pointless character. I don't see the point on him being written in when he shows up, and his room is all red, and he doesn't even help our main characters to stop the virus. He's just like he, yeah, like, his character is completely pointless. He's completely wasted. He does nothing to he does nothing as a character in this story. We're heard of him a lot through expositional dialogue, but we don't actually see him until like the end. And when we do see him, it's so brief that his character has very little screen time and has very little to do with this story as a whole. And as a result of that, I just felt that his character was wasted in this movie. Um, and then on top of that, there's some dialogue in this movie that I felt did not have a good rhythm to it. Um, and yeah, it's the writing in general in this movie is not that good. The writing in this movie is incredibly bad in some parts. But I will give credit where credit is due. This is a really smart concept. But then on the other hand, this is based on existing material, so I can't really praise that this is a unique idea when it's based off an already existing fleshed out concept and film. So yeah, I can't really praise this as this being something new or unique. Um, but I can praise the movie's message because this is a message that I really like when horror movies in particular touch on this. And when horror movies deal with technology, which is quite often nowadays with movies like Unfriended, Follow Me, and all of like those types of movies. This movie has a message about how us as a society we're so over reliant on technology and using our phone like 24/7, and we rely on our phone to keep in contact with people, to research information. And this movie kind of puts a different lens on that, puts a different point of view, um, where where what if we use it too much? What will it become? How powerful will it become? And I think this movie, does that message justice to a degree. I think it has a good message to it, and I like the way it was executed for the most part. Um, Another thing I did not like in this movie, but at the same time, I guess I can kind of give it a pass. Is the really bad green screen in this movie? This movie has some horrendous green screen. But I'm pretty sure this first movie had a more bigger budget than its sequel. So like okay, the sequel, this also uses like bad CGI, bad green screen. As when this movie is like made on like maybe $7 million. Well, it's made on a very small budget. This is like a very B grade sequel. Um, but this movie was made on a pretty reasonable size budget, and you can tell there is a lot of money provided in this movie. So on that hand, that the first movie had a bigger budget, there is no excuse for the bad green screen. I mean, it is so noticeable. Like when you watch the movie, I literally pointed it out from like frame one that is green screen, and that is horrible green screen effects. And then like there is some bad CGI, but it didn't take away from the movie. So yeah, there were just a few negatives that really stood out to me, like this time around. And now going into my positives, I think Christian Bell. I think Christian Bell and all of the actors in this movie, like they do a really good job. I think they do a really good job with their characters. I really liked the relationship between Christian Bell's character and her boyfriend Josh. Even though that's more done through flashback, I thought they did a good job at writing and executing that relationship. Even though it was very brief, but like I still cared for them as a boyfriend, as a couple, in better terms. And yeah, like and both and I both liked their performances and their characters. Gave some really good tension, I guess, to the movie and all of that. Like in particular, Josh, I think this movie has a great opening sequence. Actually, this movie has a really good opening sequence that takes place like in the library, and it's very like atmospheric. There's a lot of suspense. There's a lot of mystery in those first 5 minutes. I thought it set the tone for the movie, really well. What else is there to praise in this movie? Like it's like it goes along at a pretty fast pace. This is a pretty like quick. This is a pretty quick movie. It's a very engaging script and story. While that's not executed the best, in its writing, like I think this is a very interesting movie with a lot of interesting ideas provided to its viewer. Um, and like I thought there was some cool there was some cool visual effects in the movie. I really liked the color contrast and the color tone in this movie. It has a very kind of blue and blue tilty, no, so blue like tilt kind of color tone to it. And that I really liked. I thought the color I thought worked really well for this kind of movie. Um, and yeah, like I said, I thought there was some good tension. I thought there was some good suspense. I think this is a well crafted movie. This is directed by Jim Son Zero. Jim Son Zero. There we go. I thought he did a really good job at directing and crafting this movie. I think it has a pretty chilling musical score. Actually, I think the musical score in the movie is pretty good. Like it still surprises me that this is written by Wes Craven, but I did do research on that before I filmed my review, and Wes Craven's original screenplay for this movie, like he has very little to do in this actual movie. Like Ray Wright, this is really Ray Wright's movie. This is Ray Wright's script. Wes Craven, he had very little to do as far as writing, because I think from what I read up on, I think the director didn't like Wes Craven's approach at going a more, I guess, psychological route, which I think this movie really would have benefited from a really psychological kind of supernatural, which the movie still has those supernatural themes to it, but like a psychological supernatural type film. I feel like this movie would have really benefited from. But yeah, so this movie has a little of Wes Craven's original screenplay. Like there are a few scenes in here I can tell Wes Craven did have his hand in. There are a few Wes Craven-esque scenes that did have a bit of a psychological I guess like feel to the scene. And yeah, like I thought like all of the I feel like all of the ghosts, I thought they looked pretty cool. I thought there were some pretty cool designs there. I really like the set. I love the set in this movie actually. And like the set design of the streets, how it's all kind of trash. It's all very kind of run down. I really dig that. All of the sets in this movie I thought were really spot on. So like I'm actually very curious now. I'm really tempted to go back and and watch the sequel and just see, because I remember I gave Pulse 2 a very positive review as well. So I'm very curious now that my opinion has changed on this first movie. I'm very curious if I go back and watch Pulse 2, if my opinion has changed. If my opinion has changed on this movie, or whether I still like Pulse because I know that this movie was made on a more lower budget than the first movie, so it having bad green screen and bad CGI, like I mean, I feel like you kind of expect that from a lower budget horror film. But I mean, it can still look good. So yeah, this yeah, like I might go back and watch this, and if my opinion has changed, like I'll do like a revisited review like I did with the first movie here. And this October I also might review Pulse 3, because I have not seen that. Pulse 3 is a very hard movie to track down, but I'm pretty sure it is on Amazon for rent at the moment, and I have not seen Pulse 3. I've only seen like the first two movies. So yeah, I would like to bring this series to a close, and be able to say I have finished the Pulse franchise and all that. Like I only have one more movie, so like I might I'll probably review that as well, because I remember liking both these movies back when I initially reviewed them. So I'm very tempted to go back and watch Pulse 2 later today, which I might just do, because my opinion might change on that movie. And Pulse 3, I'm very curious to see what I will think of the closing, the end, or the final chapter, if you want to call it, of the Pulse franchise. So yeah. So anyways, guys, that is my review for the American remake of Pulse. If you guys have seen Pulse, let me know down in the comments. What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you think it was mad, or did you really not like it? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. So anyways, guys, you hope you have a good rest of your day, evening, or night, wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next video. Alright, bye.